Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. Today, Bryce Simon joins me, and we are going to talk about the Kawhi Leonard, Steve Ballmer allegations that came up in a recent Pablo Torre podcast. Shout out to The Athletic and Pablo Torre. We're going to talk about Cam Thomas signing his qualifying offer and how interesting that is. PJ Washington got an extension. A few other newsy things that happened injury-wise. But first, let's hit the music.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Way downtown.
Bang! Bang! What's this gonna be? Wow! Are you kidding me?
Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vecenie. But if you watch the tape, what you will see completely orchestrated this game. Bryce, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, Sam? It's been like 2 weeks. I haven't got to see you, haven't got to talk to you. I know our viewers, our listeners have got some content, but not live content. It may have came out live. It was funny because one of those, I was recording the Pistons Pulse as it was going live, not live, pre-recorded. And so I don't know. I thought that was kind of funny, but I'm excited to be back live with our viewers, live with you after a much deserved vacation for you and the start of the school year and football season for me. So life is a little busy.
The vacation was amazing. I could not recommend Singapore more to anybody. Laura and I had an amazing time in Singapore.
Nice.
We had an amazing time in Thailand too. Like, completely recommend Thailand as well. The beaches were just completely crazy and amazing, but Singapore, man, was just, it was unbelievable. We had such good food. We had such an amazing time. The problem was that the day I got back, unfortunately, I got incredibly ill, which is why this is now Monday, when typically it's a Sunday podcast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the day before Sunday, I spent 9 hours in the emergency room checking to make sure I didn't have like something going on serious with my bowels. And instead, it was just a virus in my small intestine that was at play. I am relatively healthy. I'm probably at like 80% right now. I'm not like totally 100% yet, but we're back. We're ready. We are going to do this thing, and we're going to talk about Kawhi Leonard because this thing just, like, it's so funny. So when I go on vacation, it often feels like there is a massive story that breaks every single time. I remember 6 years ago, I guess it maybe 8 years ago at this point, I can't remember. It was like the first big vacation that Laura and I went on to Mexico. We went to Playa del Carmen or something, and we sit down on like a Monday by the beach. On Tuesday, the FBI investigation into college basketball breaks. And it's like, oh my God, what are we doing here? Like, what's happening? How is this happening right now while I'm on vacation? And that was when I was like doing college basketball, like way more than what I do now. And Tuesday, I guess it was Tuesday this week as well. These Tuesdays are killers. Pablo Torre decides to go public with all of this information that he has acquired on Kawhi Leonard, on Steve Ballmer, on Aspiration, a company that was advertising with the Clippers and doing some things. And I am just so interested to kind of talk through all of that with you. And I'm going to kind of lay everything out the best that I can and kind of lay out the layers. But just immediately, what was your reaction when you saw the Pablo Torre investigation?
Yeah, my immediate reaction was like, oh, shoot. And you know me, Sam, like, I just want to talk ball. Like, you've probably learned this about me. The listeners have probably learned this about me. I just want to talk about games, maybe player movement, whatever. I don't love talking this stuff, but I understand the importance of talking about this topic because it is something that needs to be discussed. And, we'll talk about, the ramifications, if true, if not, all of that, or the levels of truth or whatever we get into. So my first thought was like, this just can't be good. My next thought was, is this a Pandora's box into other things, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point at the end of this conversation. And then over the days, Sam, I think I've opened up more to like the true depth of this and all of the different sides and, you know, intricacies of it. And I'll admit, like listening to some other podcasts like Zach Lowe, listen to Windhorse, those people talk about it and report on it, has like helped me see those angles and the importance of all of those angles.
Okay, so this is going to be amazing because I haven't listened to anybody else because I've kind of wanted to keep it fresh.
Yeah.
I've just been kind of talking to people around the league and talking to agents, talking to team executives, talking to like everyone that I can talk to around the league to get through this. So I don't really know what the public, and again, like literally all day Saturday, I think I slept 17 of 24 hours on Saturday. And then Sunday, again, I was in the emergency room for like 9 hours. So like, I didn't see a whole lot, and I was on vacation before that. So like, I don't know what the tenor is really about this. So this will be fun. What I just kind of want to do first here is lay out what exactly this is.
Of course.
Right. So Pablo Torre, our legend, new athletic. I think the world of Pablo. I think that the work that he has done, particularly with the NFLPA over the course of the last really like 2 months with Mike Florio, is some of the most important work that I've seen in a long time. The fact that the NFLPA like could be seen to be colluding in some respects with the NFL, and Pablo is able to uncover it. I mean, just look at this legend. Look at this icon sitting here, crushing it, absolutely killing it. Pablo. The fact that the NFLPA could be seen in any way to be colluding to diminish information from the NFL could be colluding with the NFLPA to diminish information from the player base is just like so beyond the pale to me. And I think the work he has done in that is like truly work that should win him awards. This is obviously great work. I don't mean to compare one piece to another.
Sure.
I just mean to say, like, when it comes to this stuff, I consider Pablo pretty unimpeachable on this shit.
Yeah.
I think he is exceptionally good at this. So what did he report? So he went for an hour and 20 minutes with David Sampson and Amin El Hassan. I have differing opinions on those guys. It, is what it is. Different strokes for different folks. I think some people enjoy them, some people don't. Is what it is. He did more of like an overarching thing on Aspiration, which is this company where the whole idea was basically that if you think that like the papers that are in this notebook, right, are worth one tree, you could then arrange for Aspiration to plant a tree in your name to essentially replace the tree that you killed by buying this piece of notebook paper, right? For big companies like the Red Sox, like Drake that uses a jet all the time, like the LA Clippers who were building an arena, right? These kinds of companies become very in vogue and very popular because it's a way to offset your carbon footprint. And that's a way to curry favor with environmentalists. It's a way where Steve Ballmer seems genuinely like this is an issue that is important to him. So it's a way for him to offset the carbon footprint of the LA Clippers by going down this road. So essentially this company was a go-between on like on offsetting carbon footprints, right? The funny thing about Aspiration is that it wasn't even the one planting the trees. They were literally just the middleman planting planting the tree operation. Like they were the underpants gnomes. Like they were going to get your money in order to then take it to the tree fairies in order to plant the tree. Like why this was a company, like a good company, it typically costs, apparently, according to Pablo, 10 to 20 cents to plant a tree. Like if you're doing it at scale, this company was charging people $1 per tree to do so. So like how that is plausible, how long that was going to hold up. I think there are many questions about the company aspiration. Unsurprisingly, resulted in a situation where they got under the investigation of the Security and Exchanges Commission, seemingly, and the Department of Justice. So I think in the end, it shouldn't be all that surprising that this guy, Joe Sandberg, was arrested for conspiring to defraud an investment fund of $145 million. After this, aspiration files for bankruptcy. Where all of this comes from is the bankruptcy documents with Kawhi, right? And with aspiration, particularly in regard to Kawhi. So the Clippers in what year is this? This is in 2022. They sign a deal with the Clippers for, I think it's 23 years, $300 million, $325 million, something like that, in order to be a founding advertising partner for the Intuit Dome, which is their new state-of-the-art arena.
They made a pitch to try to be the name, right? Is what I heard on one of the and Ballmer was like, no, I'm not quite there with them.
And Ramona, I guess, reported today that was the case. And Ramona interviewed Ballmer. We'll talk about that.
Ramona was on that podcast with Windhurst that I listened to. So a lot of what I heard was her reaction to the interview with Ballmer.
Okay. So Kawhi decides to sign with the Clippers in 2019. So 3 years before this. What's important to remember is that during that time, how he ended up at the Clippers was a real question, because there were rumors of his uncle Dennis Robertson asking for, all sorts of different benefits from teams, from a guaranteed amount of off-court endorsement money, which is against the CBA, to different kind of inducements, things like that. No circumvention was found there. It is worth noting that the Clippers were fined in, 2015, 2016, in the DeAndre Jordan situation, where they had a $250,000 fine for circumvention there, but not for the Kawhi situation.
And there was an investigation, right? There was an investigation, and they were found to be clear, correct?
Correct. In the Kawhi investigation.
Correct.
That is correct.
Yes.
It did result in Adam Silver going to all the teams and basically saying hey, I take this shit seriously. If you are found to do this, I am going to crush you. That seemed to be the message that got across the league, at the very least. So how did we get to where this was all found out, right? The Clippers, during the bankruptcy hearing, the Clippers were owed more money than anybody else. They were owed $30 million still. Number 4 on that list in terms of who was owed things was this company called KL2 Aspire, which, Kawhi, my guy, we got to do better. Dennis, probably Uncle Dennis, more than Kawhi. We got to do better. We got to do better hiding stuff. If we're gonna do this, we can't do KL2 Aspire, we can't do Big Hands LLC. This can't be the move here. If we're doing this and we're getting any sort of untoward money, or money that could even be seen as untoward, pretty wild. So Pablo found 7 people that were working within Aspire, that were willing, or Aspiration, that were willing to talk to him. And through those sources, he got Kawhi's actual endorsement agreement. And it is fucking hilarious. Again, all of the reporting here is Pablo. None of this is mine. Kawhi was getting $28 million over 4 years. All of the notices were getting sent to Uncle Dennis. Kawhi's uncle was listed as his representative. The person that Pablo had on the show that had the masked voice and everything said that Kawhi's deal is the biggest one that Aspiration ever did, despite the fact that they had guys like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans and other folks like that actually doing deals with them and being willing to help out in some way, shape, or form. Biggest one they ever did. Contractually, Kawhi did not have to do a single thing. He had no KPIs and could decline any asks if anything was not consistent with his beliefs. Kawhi essentially did nothing. The thing that they made a big deal of that I do just want to push back on a little bit, there's a termination clause there. Aspiration had the right to terminate the deal if he no longer played for the Clippers. The thing I do want to call out about that is that's not super abnormal.
Sure.
To be honest with you. I've now talked to 3 different agents that have done these deals. I've talked to one in particular that I think is like really kind of going through these kind of deals right now. And it is in no way, shape, or form. Maybe I'll put it this way. These arrangements definitely happen where if a player is doing some sort of local based sponsorship, or if a player is, agreeing to a separate sponsorship agreement than the one that the team has with a sponsor of the team, the sponsor then doesn't want to be holding the bag, paying extra dollars while that player does no longer play for the team.
Yeah.
That's not all that abnormal. What's abnormal here is that he got paid $7 million a year, which was seemingly drastically bigger, according to Pablo's sources, than anybody else. And that is kind of the situation. The fact that he had to play for the Clippers is not really that abnormal. I just want that to be like a little bit cleared up here as we're talking through this. That is not a smoking gun. Like if we're trying to find smoking guns here that connects the Clippers in some way, shape, or form here, that is not it, for what it's worth. This all happened in 2020. So let's make sure we get these dates right. So the KL2 company was created on November 22nd, 2021. The aspiration deal for Kawhi was signed and executed, I guess, in April 2022. It's important to remember the dates of Kawhi's contracts. In 2019, he signed a 2+1 deal. And then in 2021, he signed a max 4-year, $176 million extension. He did the 2+1 deal in order to get to the 10-year, 35% max number. People were I saw people say that like he did the Clippers a solid on this deal. I actually don't agree with that, in all honesty. You have to remember the context of 2021. Like he's coming back from an ACL injury.
ACL, yeah.
He's going to miss the entirety of the next season. I actually think it's like pretty reasonable for him to decide I want my 476 now if they're willing to give it to me. Like that, if they're giving me a player option as well, why would I not do this? I think that is, again, like not something that's a smoking gun. Like there's not really any discount here given. So how does this kind of happen? How do we get to the point where aspiration gets to know Kawhi? So the Clippers do this $300 million deal with aspiration. I believe that deal is announced in 2021 at some point. Kawhi signs his extension August 12th, 2021. And then according to Steve Ballmer in his interview with Ramona Shelburne on, what was that, Wednesday, I guess it was, maybe? Wednesday or Thursday? They made an introduction to him at some point in November.
Yep.
Again, I do want to note that it is not uncommon for teams to introduce players to their sponsors that are paying them exorbitant amount of money.
And it's right? Legal by the CBA. Like that, it is not uncommon and is fully okay, right? Is my understanding that's all on the up and up. Introducing Correct. Is on the up and up. And
now here comes the key portion of it that yes. I think is the connection, or can be construed as the connection. Let's go with Steve Ballmer himself invested $50 million in aspiration. That to me is the connection. You can make the case that $50 million went straight from basically Steve Ballmer's pocket to Kawhi through an intermediary, right? That's, I think, the case that is being made here in terms of if you are in favor of this being circumvention, right? Because the other piece of this that was reported, I think, by John Corrales in the Boston Sports Journal, then confirmed by Pablo Torre.
Oh, Pablo did confirm this part. Okay.
Yeah, that there was a $20 million stock options piece of it. Like, it's not like this was like an extra side deal where he got a bunch of extra money. It was stock options. Like, if the company went public, he gets stock options that were valued at $20 million at X figure, whatever it was. It's not like he just, randomly got an extra 20 million. It was the potential for it to be 20 million. What I'm struggling with a little bit with this on the Ballmer side, and look, I am somebody that like really tends to believe that like people that are this rich will just kind of throw money at things, right? They will. Like, if it's a cause that they agree with, like Steve Ballmer very clearly agrees with, trying to offset his carbon footprint, everything like that. I do really think that like there's a lot of reason for him to just be like, yeah, sure, aspiration, like you can have my money. So like I did the math on this. This is 0.3, or no, it's 0.03% of his net worth, right? So if you were a millionaire, like forget like you and I, right, for a second, if you have $1 million in your bank account, which is a very high number, it's a very wealthy human being. This would be like a millionaire deciding to put $300 towards something. Guys, I've got to tell you, I spend $300 on a whole bunch of stupid shit all the time. And I do not have $1 million in my bank account. Like, that's the equivalent here, though. But what I'm struggling with is that I don't know how Steve Ballmer or Steve Ballmer's team or whoever did this deal, right, looked at the aspiration like business plan. And maybe this is where the fraud comes in, right? Like defrauding your investors. Obviously, he said in the interview, and I think this is actually the most important thing he said in his interview, is that they gave him, I think he said that they gave fraudulent financials. He says his staff reviewed fraudulent financials. I don't know how you can look at even just the idea of what aspiration kind of is and think that this is a company that's going to continue to stand the test of time, I guess. It felt like a bubble ready to burst, just like taking a 5-minute glance at it.
Yeah.
And like, Mark Cuban went on Pablo's podcast 2 days later, I think for the Friday show, and kind of explained that these people also reached out to him and did, I guess, like a brief amount of due diligence and wasn't interested. But hey, some people, sometimes you make poor decisions, right? And Steve Ballmer is drastically more wealthy than Mark Cuban is, even, right? Like I think he's probably got like 10 times the money Mark Cuban does, which is a crazy, crazy number. So I think that you can both make the case that like this was an incredibly stupid investment and Steve Ballmer is not an incredibly stupid human being. Why would he do this? Or you can make the case that like, look, it's like I'm a millionaire and I'm throwing $300 at something. Like this isn't that crazy, right?
So I think the analogy Hoop Collective used was it would be like me and you picking a restaurant and then not vetting the restaurant beforehand and getting a bad meal. And it's like, like it was stupid. It was a bad decision, but at the end of the day, it was, $50 or whatever. And so like, cause I'm with you. It's like even 50. And the other thing, Sam, I think the part that stands out to me is he let them be a sponsor for the Clippers, like he put their stuff on, let them be a part of the Clippers organization in that way. And so it's like, there had to be some sort of belief in it or like, it's to your point, maybe it's hard to believe that Ballmer and whoever reviews these decisions we're just so fooled by it or didn't do the due diligence to make it happen. Maybe the carbon footprint thing was just like so much like, hey, this is something we really have to like, we have to at least try it, you know? I don't know.
And look, like the VC world, like can be smoke and mirrors a lot of the time too, right? Like it's a lot of fake it till you make it. And, you know, if a company goes public, even if they're not all that useful and the stock price skyrockets and you can sell out and make a profit, like there are worlds that you can do this, right? Like that is the reality of the situation with a lot of this stuff, right? So I think that what this is, and look, I want to read like a couple of the Clippers things here. So the Clippers denied this. They said the team ended its relationship with Aspiration in 2022-23 when Aspiration defaulted on its obligations. Ballmer was not aware of any improper activity until after the investigation. The team will assist in any investigation. Steve Ballmer, in his interview with Ramona, said that Aspiration approached him about a sponsorship deal, and he and his family were excited about investing in companies with a climate change background. To him, it seemed like a match made in heaven. They offered him a great sum of money. He read the business plan, admitted to that. He says they defrauded him, but he said their business plan made sense to support him and support the Clippers. He made an investment, had no control over the company, had less than 3% of the company, no board seat, no control. You know, the company requested to be introduced to Kawhi. Under the rules, Clippers can introduce sponsors to athletes. That's true. They just can't be involved in the deal. They made an introduction in early November after that happened. They recently went through all of this in their relations with Aspiration's bankruptcy case and the DOJ and everything. They had to produce texts and emails, so like they're pretty, you know, up on all of the dates and everything. They weren't involved. He eventually learned that they reached a deal. He said, these are guys who committed fraud. Look, they conned me. I made an investment in these guys thinking it was on the up and up, and they conned me. The final funny thing that Steve Ballmer said in this interview, Ramona smartly asked, do you feel like Dennis Robertson knows the rules of tampering and everything? And Steve Ballmer said, they know the rules, we know the rules, and if anything is not clear, we remind ourselves of what the rules are. Okay, so I think that what this investigation is from Pablo, and ultimately where I'm at on it, is it 100% is worthy of the NBA opening an investigation into this.
Agreed.
Like 1,000%. The NBA needs to open an investigation into this. That is the reality. We have to get to the point where we find out everything that's going on here. The NBA has to go through it. They have hired, sorry, I'm going to get the name here, Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz to conduct an investigation into the allegations. At the end of the day, like, these are the guys that have done a lot of investigations for the NBA. They did the Donald Sterling investigation. I believe that they did the Robert Sarver investigation as well. These are the guys you call whenever you need to find out information, and or at least when the NBA needed to find out information and go through this investigation, right? So ultimately, we're going to talk about a few like bigger questions here in general. I just kind of want to let people know where I am on this. I think where I'm at is like, this is not a great look for the Clippers. Undeniably, this looks like shit. Like, undeniably, this is a terrible situation. They've gotten caught up in all this. Ultimately, it kind of comes down to me for it's almost like the difference between like a criminal trial and a civil trial, and like what we want the NBA to be, right? And we'll talk about like some of the other aspects of this here in a second. But like in a criminal trial, you have to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, right? I think that we are not beyond a reasonable doubt with this, to be honest. And I just want to like read what the CBA says on this.
This is important, yeah.
It shall constitute a violation of Section 1A above for a team or team affiliates who enter into an agreement or understanding with any sponsor or business partner or third party under which such sponsor, business partner, or third party pays or agrees to pay compensation for basketball services to a player under contract to the team. Then it goes into explaining what those things are. You cannot have any unauthorized agreements. There's also a section on penalties, which we will talk about later on. Basically, where I'm at is that if we want this to be like a civil case where like there's a preponderance of doubt, I have no problem punishing the Clippers. If we want it to be like there needs to be a smoking gun where we're beyond a reasonable doubt, I don't think we're there yet. Like, I don't think we're beyond a reasonable doubt yet. I think Pablo's reporting is incredible, and we need to continue to go down this road and figure out what's going on with the Clippers. But based on the information that we have had presented so far, and look, like in the NFLPA stuff, in some of the other like Bill Belichick reporting that Pablo Torre did this year, he had more stuff, right? We will see if he has more. That's the reality. Maybe he will get more as this continues to grow and metastasize, right? But right now, I don't think we have like the one thing that truly connects them. I think that David Sampson on the show, not Pablo, David, tried to make it out like it was the fact that he had to play for the Clippers. And that's coming from like a team person side. So if people don't know, David Sampson's the former president of the Marlins. He is, he's gone through all these deals before. Like, he is somebody that certainly has a long track record of doing big sponsorship deals, but he's done them from the team side, not from the player side. And my understanding from having talked to a number of agents now that have done these deals is that it is not a smoking gun that he has to play for the Clippers for this to be a thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense, right? Because some of those are going to be regional type sponsorship deals and stuff like that. And so if Kawhi's across the country or whatever, I mean, it makes sense to me. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Maybe there is a legality aspect to it, but I'm with you where I don't think that there is the smoking gun that what I've heard right now, listened to, read, etc., from the reporting of everybody else. I have yet to hear the like, I'm convinced without a doubt that Ballmer went to Aspiration and said, hey, we need you to pay Kawhi $28 million to help us keep him here because either he needs to make more or to give us a break on the contract we're going to give him or whatever. The only thing I feel like is undoubtedly clear is it does seem like the contract Kawhi signed with Aspiration is against the CBA, because I think it has language that says that you can't get into a contract with a sponsor that's not for fair market value. And
so your case would be that this is above market value.
$28 million to do nothing seems that way. But here's the other side
I would agree with that.
Okay, but let me ask you this. If I was trying to defend Aspiration, well, no, because that would still be, it was like, you're trying to keep him in LA. So that side doesn't, because my thought is, why would Aspiration give him this money to do nothing if they weren't getting money from Ballmer? But my thought was they're trying to protect the Clipper brand by keeping the best player in town as a sponsor of that team.
Correct. Like, if they're just trying to keep Kawhi in town, Steve Ballmer doesn't really have any say over that. If like Joe Sandberg, and I don't know this, right? If Joe Sandberg is like just some fucking huge Clippers fan and he's like, hey, like I want to keep Kawhi here and I want to give him money, nothing we can do. Like that's Joe Sandberg's choice, right? I'm not saying we need to keep investigating this. Like, it's pretty funny. Like, someone in the comments here, is this podcast also in Ballmer's pocket? Why are we talking about smoking gun standard when the CBA doesn't go as far as to set that standard? If the Clippers aren't heavily sanctioned, the salary cap is meaningless. Shout out to Yuki. But like, I think that the key for me is that I don't actually see a connection here yet that connects all of this together yet. Like, there is a lot of preponderance of it is very easy to do this. You can jump to conclusions based off of all of this. If we get one thing that like really truly connects this all together within our further investigation, I'm all for crushing these dudes.
Sure.
Like, this sounds great. I would say we don't really even have, like, forget like Smoking Gun, right? Where it's like, oh my God, we got them dead to rights. I think we don't even really have like the one thing that truly connects it all together quite yet. I think we're missing like one thing right now.
Yeah, and I mean, to Keith's point, I think his mention of the salary or the CBA essentially says that Silver has the authority to do this based on circumstantial evidence. And so I think that's Key's point here. I don't want to put words in his or her mouth with that, but I assume that's what's being referenced, which is fair. And listen, my thing, Sam, is if the NBA wants to go down that path, if the NBA wants to say, hey, circumstantial evidence here, we have these dots that we feel like we can connect, and they want to come down on the Clippers, I'm not going to sit here and raise holy hell against it. Like, great, do you? I'm just saying, like, for me, and I think this is what you're saying as well, is just in looking at what we have right now, I can't sit here and say for me that I would 100% confidently say they have Ballmer telling Aspiration to pay Kawhi to stay with the $28 million so they can specifically do it to circumvent the cap. I don't think that those connections are fully there.
So Rachel asked in the comments, so as a billionaire, all you have to do is give money to your friend to give it to a player so they stay on your team. No, that is circumvention. What we're missing here, in my opinion, based off of the information we currently know, is the part of giving your money to your friend to give it to a player. We don't have for sure right now that Ballmer gave the money to Aspiration as an investment in order to give to Kawhi. If we get like one email that says, Steve Ballmer gave this, we get like one text message. If we get X, Y, or Z, whatever, like, I think that's a real factor here, and that would completely change the calculus. We're missing that one little small thing right now. And Free asks, what about 7 players saying they were explicitly told this deal was to circumvent the cap? Yes, I think that this is an incredibly important piece of information. My problem is that, like, I want to know a little bit more about like what those people's like understanding of the NBA salary cap is, kind of. Like, I just want to understand and interrogate that a little bit more. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong. Like, it actually could be the piece that connects all of this. I just don't know that we have it yet. And the bigger issue right now, to me, is all of the questions that it raises, right? So all of the different things that could come up here. First and foremost, like, Steve Ballmer is a well-liked owner, first and foremost. Like, you talk to people around the league, people generally like Steve. Like, he is by far the most powerful in terms of resources, but also, like, he is a competitive owner in a situation that was very uncompetitive for a long time, and he's built up a very big marketplace. Like, he is a guy that people just like talking to, right? Are other owners going to see this like as an opportunity to crush him, or are they going to want to pressure the league to be like, hey, let's get this guy that has like $158 million out of here, and like even in playing field, like even a little bit more now for us? Because the other thing about the Clippers is, and I've mentioned this on the show before, like, the level to which they are leveling up compared to other organizations in terms of their infrastructures is very real. Like, you talk to people around the league about like their medical staff and their medical departments and their training staff and things like that, they will tell you it's the best in the league. That is just the reality, because they've invested a crazy amount of money into that. They invest a crazy amount of money into their front office personnel. So like all of the soft cap stuff, the like stuff that doesn't go toward players, like,
yeah,
Steve Ballmer is investing a crazy amount of money into that. Are owners going to want to fight that, or are they going to be like, no, we like the human, like we like having this guy as a business partner right now? Because look, all the owners are business partners in some level too, right? The other piece of this though is that like other owners could look at this and go, well, shit, like we should be getting luxury tax payments on money that you were spending outside the cap. Like you guys were over the cap, you're 7 million over the cap, like for 4 years. We should be getting, multi-millions of dollars each in luxury tax payments based off of the fact that you were just avoiding the cap. Like that's fucked up. You know what I mean? So there's the ownership part of it. From a league perspective, the Clippers have the All-Star game this year. Intuit Dome has the All-Star game. Yeah. That's probably something that the league is not enthused about right now.
Right.
Going through all of this. Adam Silver has been very clear. He hates the idea of tampering. He hates the idea of any of this. Is he going to come down like pretty strongly on this? Will his threshold for what is connective tissue and what's not be lower, because he's just like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are we doing?
Sure.
Here?
Yeah.
Right. I kind of think that his threshold might be a little bit lower than what some people's are, honestly.
Can we go back to the owner side of it as well, though? Like, I won't even say a team, but some owners may also be like, we don't want you come snooping around our situations either. Like
correct.
That's
the other thing from other owners. Like,
so if let's say there's 6 other, like, and maybe there's none. Like, I hope there's none, but are those 6 owners who could they be, and what kind of weight and power do they have, and could that affect Adam Silver's threshold for what he needs, for what connective tissue is, right? It's very interesting, because if 5 other owners or 3 other owners or whatever are going, oh man, like what if they come looking at how we signed this player and then, whatever, that's not going to go well for us. And then, so do we want to push this, or do we want it to be like, hey, Adam, actually, let's push that threshold up a little bit, so that it doesn't happen other places. So and maybe it's 0. I hope it's 0.
This is another point that I did not bring up earlier that is important. Steve Ballmer paid above market value when he invested. He paid $11 per share as opposed to 10, which was the going rate. Typically, when investors of Ballmer stature invest, they get a discount.
Yeah,
because it's a big thing for having an investor of Steve Ballmer stature within your ownership group. I think that's actually like maybe the biggest not even smoking gun, like the biggest like point of information that I saw where I was like, okay, this is a little bit funky.
Sure.
Like, what's going on here? Why is he investing $11 versus everybody else getting 10? That's bizarre.
I want to be clear, and I don't know if anybody's accusing us of this, but like, I think we both think this is extremely fishy, and neither of us condone it. Like, I feel like there's a little bit of like maybe a feeling that we're like saying this is okay, and neither of us are on board with that whatsoever, or that there's not like you said, Pablo did a great job reporting. Seems like people have followed up on it. There's obviously a ton of stuff that you can use to try and connect things. I think we are similar in terms of like, maybe there's a little bit more we would like. That is interesting. I had not seen that part. Also, the employees is also like, because if that was truly being said going around the office, understood, whatever, assuming this place had an office or whatever, that obviously would be as well. And again, if what we have heard so far is enough of a threshold for Silver, then by all means, go crazy. I will not come on here and be like, hey, I think that was too much. They didn't have enough information. I think there probably is, enough. There definitely is enough to meet the threshold of circumstantial proof or evidence.
Here's the thing. I think that there's already enough to penalize them in some respect.
Agreed. I think this is what it's about, right? Can you throw the hammer, or is it a little bit less than that?
Yeah. Like, to me, throwing the hammer of like getting rid of all of their 5 picks,
the Joe Smith Minnesota Timberwolves.
And this is a way bigger deal than Joe Smith.
I actually
this
agree.
Is a
I agree.
Way bigger deal. Even removing the calculus of like Kawhi being a way better player than Joe Smith and being a max guy versus Joe Smith, who was like a good player, coming off of like a good early career, right? This is so much worse if proven.
But real quick,
you know what I mean?
That had the smoking guns of all smoking guns. They literally, like, they found stuff that literally said, if you sign this deal, then this deal will be this and all of that. Like, when you're talking smoking guns, that had it. And so it's they had all of that to back them up and justify the depth of their punishment. And they actually came down on the punishment, right? It was 5 first-round picks eventually. They ended up only being 3.
The reason that finding a smoking gun in some respect is important, in my opinion, is because you can't come down on them like that unless you have something like that. I think they're going to punish them. I think they should punish them based off of what we've seen so far. The question is like the level of punishment, right? And how much they're going to punish them. I don't think that they can like hammer them based off of what we've got so far. I think they can punish them. I think they can get rid of a pick. I think that they can, suspend. They can, fine Ballmer. They can do what they want to do. Like, money doesn't matter there to Ballmer. I think that the amount of money is like $7.5 million in the CBA. Like, look, there's just no. I don't think that there is enough there yet to completely crush them, is the reality. But there's enough there to do something, I think. Like, you can take a pick, you can do something else. I think where I'm at is like the Clippers probably had some weird shit going on.
Yeah.
Based off of what we've seen and based off of what has been reported at this point, I think that there is a preponderance of circumstantial evidence that there is stuff happening here.
Can I ask you just like is there a world where there wasn't? Like, is it even plausible that this was just a thing between Kawhi and Aspiration, and Aspiration went to Kawhi and said, hey, we're fully invested in the Clippers as a $300 million sponsor. We want you to stay on the team. We'll give you this above market value contract, $28 million over 4 years. And Ballmer truly didn't know anything about it. Do we think it's even possible? Like, does that track in a 5% chance like in any world?
Is there a chance?
Yes. Okay.
For sure. I think that there's absolutely a chance that like, the Clippers introduced Sandberg after he signed this 4-year, $176 million deal. And Sandberg just decided, I'm a big Clippers fan. I want to induce him to stay with the Clippers or whatever. Like, I think there's absolutely a world where like nobody on the Clippers side knew. I think that is a real possibility. Sure. Do I think that should matter? I go back and forth, honestly. Like, I think probably no.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to ask
you. In terms of giving them like a slight punishment, yeah. But I don't know if you can crush them if they didn't know.
Let's say we get that. Let's say it's reported that that's what happened, Sam. What do you punish the Clippers then? Or does Kawhi get, like, who gets punished? Like, what is the punishment then? Again, in this very much like we don't know. But like, if that was what happened, who do you punish? How much do you punish? Why do you punish the Clippers for not doing anything wrong?
Say that again.
How would you punish the Clippers if they were truly out of it? All they did was introduce Kawhi to Aspiration, which is within the means of what they do. And then Aspiration and Kawhi struck this deal on the side to keep him around in LA because they're big Clippers fans and they're, sponsors, and they want to make sure the star players is on the team. So maybe they make the playoffs and their logo gets seen more. Or they can go to the next guy and say, hey, we have an NBA player. You should sign on with us. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? How do you crush the Clippers if that's what... Again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that's what happened, and I'm not saying that what has been reported
here's the thing,
lends it to that.
The NBL wants as many, sponsorship dollars flowing into the league as possible. And if the sponsors don't have like rights to the players or avenues into getting into bed with the players, then what's the point? Kind of, right? Because the players are the face of the league at the end of the day. So like the NBA particularly, it's not the NFL. Like the NBA is a very player centric and focused league. So that is hard. I mean, honestly, like I don't blame anybody thinking that way. Yeah. Look, like it's very hard because like most of the time I am like very much on like the side of labor and like against the, you know, big bad owner and businessman, let's go with. I also think I tend to be like fairly realistic about this stuff too, like knowing that like, look, anybody that works anywhere, like, you know, you look into the upper management, you're probably not going to be pleased with what you find under the hood. You know what I mean? That's kind of the reality of all this stuff. So this one's a hard one. Like I really think the NBA is going to have a tough time with this, like a way tougher time than what I think fans want with this, because there are way too many factors pushing in the other direction away from absolutely destroying them right now. Really, I think all that you would need is like one thing. Yeah. Like if you get like one real strong piece of connection with the Clippers to them, you can crush them. Like I think you could destroy them. I think we're just missing that one small kind of factor right now, and that's the problem for me. And like the other piece of this is that, like, you know, these dudes were like literally accused and like, you know, admitted to fraud. Like there's still a lot going on there too. Like, are we just gonna like buy the word of like fraudsters? You know, we live in like this is a great one too from most Nefs. Like everybody loves a conspiracy. Like we live in an Epstein addled society right now, where of course we want the Epstein list. Like, of course we want to think that there's something else going on out there. Like all of this is so real. The information age is absolutely led to an influx of the conspiracy stuff.
See, I'm the opposite. Like, I just wanted to not be real so we can talk about basketball. And so, like, I just wanted to cut, like, and not even, like, Pablo has worked his ass off for it and all. Like, it has nothing to do with anything other than just, like, you know, you don't want the.
No. To be clear, if the Clippers don't get punished, it does not diminish what Pablo did here.
No. Absolutely not.
Like, in any way. Like, this is unbelievable reporting.
Yes. It's just like, my biggest worry when someone first asked me about it was like, oh shit, there's going to be 5 more of these. Like there was a couple that immediately popped in my head where I was like, that one's next. And then that one's coming after that. And then it's like, man, this whole season is going to be about these things as opposed to the play on the court. And, but
I don't think so. I think that
I don't, dissipate.
I think the NBA will make this dissipate pretty quickly, be it one way or the other. Yeah. Like if they find stuff great, like they will, but they'll crush them. But like if not, I think that they will let this kind of go.
So let's can we play the other side? I played the one side like, hey, the Clippers were completely innocent. Ballmer came out, made his, you know, whatever. Like I think that's another aspect. Like he went to Bristol, sat down in person to do an interview and, you know, was pretty adamant about things. But let's play the other side. You keep using the phrase crush them. What do we think crush them is? Like whether they
I think like all of their remaining picks. I think that like all-star game gets moved to Staples and like just the ultimate like screw you, like we're gonna hold. That'd be interesting.
You know, because can you move it from LA this close? But if you give it to the crosstown rival and keep it in LA, like is there a bigger like, hey, screw you guys?
The final thing that we didn't talk about here is the Kawhi piece of it. So the other piece of this that's really important here is that like a standard player contract is not just like a team entity, right? Kawhi signs the standard player contract where he agrees to not circumvent the cap. Like that it's not just that teams agree to not circumvent the cap. Players also agree to not circumvent the cap. So I don't think that they will void his contract, because I think that would be a massive, massive, massive fight with the PA at that point. And I don't think that they want to be fighting multiple places, like putting out multiple fires in multiple areas at once. I do wonder if they could like suspend him. Honestly, like, could you suspend him for half the season? Could you like fine him a real proportion of this salary? I think that would be a more likely outcome here. I think it's unlikely they would void this deal. I do.
That's where I was wondering with Kawhi as well, and was like, man, that's a big contract to just completely void. And then like, does he just become a free agent? Like, how does that work then? Does he just become a free agent then? Is there a suspension with it?
I mean, the funniest outcome here by far is him becoming a free agent and like him wanting to stay in Southern California because he's a SoCal guy, and like just signing with the Lakers. And then like everyone that melted down about this, then you have to fucking deal with LeBron, Luka, and Kawhi on the same team. Yeah. Like, is that better for the league? Like, is that going to make everybody happy? Like when the Lakers get every single primetime game in February, March, and April, and everything like that. Like, I don't know. Like, that's another, like, obviously you have to punish him if this is real, but like anybody that's saying void the contract, I don't think you want void the contract, to be honest with you, as an overall like viewership experience.
I think as we've talked through it, I think the suspension is the better thing, right? Like, you suspend him, which takes away his money, but like you don't just make him a free agent. Yeah.
Or you suspend him the equivalent of $21 million.
Yeah, exactly.
The last 7 from aspiration. So like, and here's the other case too here that's a little bit bananas to me. I saw that Mark Cuban made this argument. Like, if you're Steve Ballmer, like, why wouldn't you shut this down? Or why wouldn't you keep funding them for the next, couple of years at least?
Oh, so it wouldn't come out.
That the deal ends, so it wouldn't come out. Because the only reason this came out is because
he was on the bank. Yeah. So if you just fund them for one more year, or put money in to finish off the $7 million payment, right? Like,
correct.
So that Kawhi's at least paid off.
Right. Well, I think that at that point the DOJ was pretty strongly looking at them. Okay. So any sort of
I got you
deal in that respect might have come off a little bit shadier even. But like, before it gets to that point, you can go back to Ballmer and just like keep investing. Again, part of the problem here is that, I mean, really, this is the issue, to be honest, from Mike, and Mike is dead on about this. The other issue is the Kawhi, in other words, Uncle Dennis. Uncle Dennis made the claim in bankruptcy court. I just have no idea. No idea what the fuck he is doing. Like, honestly, Uncle Dennis should be suspended from the NBA for being stupid. For that. It is incredibly dumb. Incredibly, incredibly stupid. Your company's name is KL to Aspire. And you're going to file a fucking claim in bankruptcy court for your no-show job that you're not doing shit for. You've already made $21 million.
Just take it and go. Take it and go. Let him keep the other 7.
Taking it and going. What are you doing?
So I will admit, Sam, I didn't realize to the extent that all of this Kawhi stuff has been a shit show every single place he's kind of been. All of the free agencies, the amount of lawsuits, the amount of investigations. Again, I think Hoop Collective said the Clippers have had 3 playoff series wins and 4 Kawhi Leonard either investigations or lawsuits to fight during his time there. And it's just like, God, whenever you simplify it that way, it's like, oh my gosh, like what a disaster.
Why in the world are you filing a bankruptcy claim for your no-show job where you haven't, according to Pablo, retweeted or liked an aspiration post? What in the world are you doing? Take your money and go, my guy. Like, let's just get, we got the money, we got what we needed, we're good. Like, we got enough. We're happy with our 21. Let's not take the risk on the extra 7. Or at least, like, if it is circumvention, maybe hit the Clippers, and say, hey, we got a meeting or whatever. Go into the meeting and go, hey, so like aspiration, they're filing bankruptcy. Like, how should we approach this? Right? We want the
right.
extra dollars.
Yeah.
Like the Clippers probably tell you, dude, you just made 21 for nothing.
Yeah.
Like maybe we'll figure something out, but like, you got to eat this one, my guy.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing?
Lay low for a little while. We'll figure it out later.
Unbelievable. It's unfathomable that this dude filed a bet. And I refuse to believe this was Kawhi. Like, I'm sorry. Kawhi is responsible for sure. His legal Zoom filed KL to Aspire company. Like, it's in his name. It's his fault. Unbelievable. If I was Adam Silver, I'd be calling Uncle Dennis and just be like, you're a fucking moron for making me do this. Like, are you kidding me?
Yes. It's amazing.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Okay. Before we move on to the other stuff that we have to get to, let's shout out our friends over at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the best place to get money on sports. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. I enjoyed the opening weekend of NFL football, Bryce. Did you?
Sorry, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Aaron Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns. It was a wild ride.
I did not enjoy this weekend of NFL football at all, Sam.
Man, Justin Herbert was out there linging the ball around, though. That was pretty nasty.
I would blame it on the Chiefs defense, but yes, Justin Herbert deserves his flowers.
That was something special. Justin Herbert was just absolutely tossing that thing around, man. Some of those sail routes were nasty. I love PrizePicks. I love getting involved in these games with a little something extra on it. It's very simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you can cash in. It's the best way to get action on sports in more than 40 states, including California, Texas, and Georgia. PrizePicks puts their users first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick, easy deposits. PrizePicks is just absolutely a tremendous, tremendous service. There's a reason they've been a sponsor of the show forever. We really love them. They invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Download the app today and use the code GameTheory to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code GameTheory to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. I mean, look at these. I know that the Bears game's happening while we're recording here, but Caleb Williams, 218.5, Aaron Jones, 49.5, Justin Jefferson, 79.5. I don't know, man. I might have gone over on the Caleb number, but I'm a Caleb believer. I don't know how you feel about that, Bryce. I'm a Caleb guy. I think he's going to be pretty good this year with Ben Johnson.
Yeah, no, that's a good OC there for him. I didn't watch all of the Lions game, but I saw Be interesting to see what it looks like for them. I know they struggled in week 1 without their coordinators there. So yeah, Ben Johnson in year 1 in Chicago will be fun.
Yeah, did not look to have much flow and rhythm in the way that the Ben Johnson games tended to look, where there was always like a plan in terms of keeping the sticks moving, keeping things manageable down in distance. Yeah, there wasn't as much of a plan there, unfortunately, it felt like. The other sponsor here is another longtime sponsor of the Game Theory podcast. It is Trade Coffee. Trade Coffee is an essential part of my day and my life. With summer ending and my vacation ending, I am settling back into my morning routine, and thanks to Trade Coffee, I actually really look forward to it. They recommend the beans that I love. They ensure it's roasted to order, and they ship them fresh to my door. I've gotten amazing coffees that I never would have found at the grocery store, and every cup is perfect. And look, like, we have an espresso machine here. Trade Coffee is just an essential part of what we do here in this house between my wife and I. Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S. for both hot and cold coffee drinkers. They've sourced the best beans from over 50 top roasters across the U.S. For cold brew lovers, they've teamed up with 15 roasters to create a special collection made just for cold brew. So every cup comes out smooth and delicious every time. They even have easy-to-use curated gear so you can brew at home with better flavor. If you don't have the grinder and the espresso machine that I do, they have gear for you to be able to get that great flavor and taste that you need from your coffee. You take their quiz, and in under a minute, they're going to recommend coffees that you'll love. If the first bag isn't quite right, no problem. Trade will replace it for free until they nail it. And remember, these prices are on par with grocery store brands, despite the fact that you're getting real elite roasters. There's just nothing better than a good cup of coffee at the end of the day. Trade is just the best. They make it so easy for you. They make it so simple. And again, like, they will make sure that you get a coffee that you like. Like, that is so important. Like, my wife particularly has like a very specific palate when it comes to coffee. And like, you know, we were kind of using the dregs of a bag after we got back from vacation, and she was like, yeah, I can't drink this. Like, this is not very good. It's a Melbourne thing, I'm sure, right? But Trade will always make sure that you have a coffee that you love and a coffee that you genuinely enjoy. Right now, Trade is offering 50% off a 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/game. That's drinktrade, DRINKTRADE.com/game, GAME, to get 50% off 1 month. Drinktrade.com/game. Okay, Bryce, let's talk about basketball. Well,
okay.
Sort of, I guess, because we're going to talk about contracts. But Cam Thomas has signed his qualifying offer. Bryce, I am not really a qualifying offer guy, I think is the fairest way to put it. I don't love them as an option for most players. We'll talk about why that is as we go. But if anybody was going to do it, we kind of talked about this whenever, you know, the whole thing happened with Cam Thomas and it was going long into the summer. I kind of thought that if someone was going to do it, it was probably him that was going to do the qualifying offer. I thought he was the most likely person to do it. And here we are.
Yeah.
He is certainly the most likely person to do it.
We talked about it, right? We talked about the 4 guys, the other 3 still unresolved as we record here on Monday night, but Thomas goes ahead and signs his. And, you know, I think we agreed on that it seemed like out of all the guys to bet on themselves, and maybe some of the others still end up trending in that way and doing it, but seemed like Cam Thomas was the most likely to bet on himself. And now we'll see, because he's really going to have to, you know, play himself into a bigger contract this offseason and make up the money that, you know, he turned away on what Brooklyn was offering. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out on the court in terms of, do we see a energize, you know, something defensively, you know, the passing, does it continue to take a step forward? How does Brooklyn utilize him throughout this season, you know, where he's going to be an unrestricted free agent? And then the other interesting thing I thought is, yes, Cam Thomas has a no trade clause, but that doesn't mean he can't be traded, obviously, right? Like there's still, you know, if
he gets to control it now.
He gets to control it, but that doesn't mean he's off the table if Brooklyn was able to find a suitor that wanted his services. And then I'm sure, Cam Thomas's representation would want to know kind of what that team was interested in. Or maybe some team just says, hey, this is Cam Thomas on $6 million for this year. Yeah, we can use that in our second unit to give us some scoring punch and then figure it out after that.
The issue is, though, that he has very little trade value now. Let's say.
Yes.
Because we have not seen as true a form of a rental as Cam Thomas in a while, because he will not have bird rights. The whole thing of being traded when you take the qualifying offer is that you lose the bird rights.
Yep.
So that means that the team will not be able to, unless they have cap space next summer, they won't be able to pay him over, essentially, if they have the full mid-level, they'd be able to do that, but they'd have to use their mid-level to retain him. Otherwise, you're talking about biannual, mini mid-levels. You're talking about exceptions. You're talking about minimums, right? So, what is Cam Thomas as a player? We talk about this throughout the summer. I think Cam Thomas is genuinely probably one of the 15 best scorers in the NBA. That's not an exaggeration to me. I think he is a remarkable. Maybe the better way to put it is one of the 15 most skilled scorers in the NBA. He is silky smooth. He is great at getting to his spots. He plays at an unbelievable tempo. He is constantly on balance, plays off of 2 feet, has this ability to get to his jumper, really elevate into the jumper, high release point, can pull up over bigger defenders and get a decent look at the very least. The problem that I have with Cam Thomas is often the decision-making and the willingness to kind of pound the ball into the ground a little bit. Cam Thomas is not a guy that's been very fun to play with, even going back to high school, going to LSU, going to the Nets now. He just plays a very static brand of basketball that's really about Cam Thomas getting his numbers. Even somebody like Tyler Hero, I think passes the ball pretty substantially better, honestly, than what Cam Thomas does. Not because Cam Thomas doesn't have vision, because I think Cam Thomas actually does have real vision. I think that when he chooses to see the court, you will see real high-level passing flashes at times. It's just not there often enough, unfortunately, and that's why you see, 3.8 assists versus 2.5 turnovers, and more than anything, you see the shot selection. The shot selection at 43.8% field goal is just not quite good enough. He finally hit league average true shooting this year in 25 games after 3 seasons where he was right around 95%, so 5% below league average. A fascinating player, man. I think it's hard to win with these guys, honestly. I do. And that's before we even get to the defense. But, man, he can win you games. That's why at this $6 million number, at the deadline, somebody's going to be interested in him. Somebody's going to want to be I will take a shot on this. It's just whether or not he is willing to go to that place at the end of the day.
And that's my thing is I can see this playing out because Brooklyn has to believe they're losing him, right? It would seem like bringing this back together in unrestricted free agency would be tough. So here's
the thing, though, Bryce. His best route to getting paid still, if you're Cam Thomas, is still through Brooklyn through the bird rights.
Yeah.
So I don't know necessarily if that's the case.
It depends on what, I had somebody sent me a list of cap space, or maybe ESPN had a list. Somebody put out a list of cap space teams the other day, and there was quite a few. Sometimes I don't think those lists are fully, because even Detroit was on the list. I'm that can change really fast.
Detroit's not doing this.
No, I know. That's where I was going was his market could be very limited, but I think it would just have to be the right situation, a perfect fit where, hey, we need this. Cam Thomas sees an opportunity in his representation to go, let's go play on a playoff team and show that I can contribute to winning. And then that will raise my market in the offseason, as opposed to with Brooklyn where they're not going to win this year. So even if he is quote unquote playing the right way, it's not going to contribute to winning anyway. And so I just do wonder if that situation does end up presenting itself where Cam Thomas would find it interesting. The money aspect is important though, like you said, where Brooklyn probably also with cap space situation would have the most money to pay him next offseason.
So I think that it's really hard with Cam. It's really, really hard because I love the talent. So like I think as a scorer, I love the talent so much. And he just does so many like mind numbing, like poor decisions on the court, including the defense where like he is just a non-defender at this point. Like I would love to see him, honestly, if he would just like hone in on that this summer and like become a real defender, it would go so much longer toward him being like a valuable player on a winning team that would get real money next summer.
Yeah.
But he's not super quick. Like he doesn't really have those tools. These guys that play off of 2 feet, they're so good with their herky jerky movements and the way that they cross over and, you know, are able to kind of get guys off balance that tends to be more how they play. They don't really have great defensive tools. I don't think Cam Thomas has like amazing defensive tools, but he can at least be like more attentive than he is, I think is the way to put it. Ultimately, what this comes down to for me for Brooklyn is, and why I don't love the qualifying offer in general. The qualifying offer gives teams an incentive to not play you because they no longer have real control over you.
Yep.
Right.
That's my worry in this situation, Sam.
And what Cam Thomas needs to do now is not go out and score 35 points a game. He's got to like play the right way while Brooklyn is trying to build this culture and build the way that they want to build so that he keeps playing. And then it doesn't become a situation where like, no, we're going to bring you off the bench. Like we have all these younger kids. We'll give them a shot. Like, even though you might be better, we'd rather try them. Right.
Yeah. And I think I've said this about Cam. I think that's who we were talking about is I actually think he can serve a purpose on this Brooklyn team because I think it would be a mistake to make Yegor Dimon the focal point of your offensive scheme or Pincer, you know, what any of those guys. Now, like there's an issue of like who's going to dominate the ball and all of that stuff. But I think Cam Thomas could really raise his value in Brooklyn if he was that number one scoring option that a rebuilding team even needs, because you want to be able to properly evaluate your young players in competitive situations where you're in the game and they're not playing above their heads in terms of role. And if Cam will like, hey, I'll go play off the ball a little bit more. I'll come off a pin down into my mid-range pull-up, and then I'll give a little bit more defensively, and I'll spray this out to Michael Porter Jr., you know, whatever. I think he that path is there to show that, whether it's to then stay in Brooklyn or to, like I said, you know, more likely move on to another team. But I was thinking about this as well. Like, what is Brooklyn's incentive to playing him this season a bunch of minutes if he's just going to hog the ball from the young guys or win them some games scoring 50 that they don't actually want to win? It's a very unique situation and dynamic.
Yeah, and the other piece of this too is, you know, you can't forget the fact that they went out and got Michael Porter Jr.
Yeah.
And they still have control over Michael Porter Jr. enough to where he'll be an expiring deal next summer at like 40 million or so. So that's something that could be appealing to another team, getting Porter for as an expiring. I would guess they probably prioritize Porter more. And if Porter wants to come in and get a bunch of shots, then like, what do you do? Right?
Yep.
Like, you know, I mean, you probably go and give Porter the chance, even though I don't think that'll go particularly well either. You know, Terrence Mann is like a perfect guy to play next to Thomas in this iteration of Nets basketball, at least, because he's defensively conscious. He moves the ball quickly, like everything like that. That's good. Demon, I would imagine, is probably going to get a chance here to run the show at some point this year, maybe not immediately. Haywood Highsmith, I think, will definitely play for this team whenever he gets fully healthy. I am just truly fascinated to kind of see where this lands.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting roster, and yeah, I was looking at that number, just seeing him on the books at $6 million it's kind of surreal that it actually ended up with the QO.
Give me the other part of Cam Thomas that we haven't really talked about, but I do want to move past this really quickly because we've talked about Cam enough, is that he does have a tendency to miss time.
Yeah.
So he needs to stay fully healthy on some level too. And that's a real factor here as well. Give me a score line prediction, a box score prediction for Cam Thomas here.
Just points per game?
Points per game, assists, rebounds, and field goal percentages.
Okay, let's go 20. Well, I feel like I'm just hedging, playing the middle ground. I'll go above. I think he's going to come in and try to score the hell out of the ball. So I'll go 25 points a game on 43, 34, 80 plus, 3.5 assists.
So I will say 25.6 points, 3.9 assists versus 2.9 turnovers.
Okay.
44, 36, 87 or so. But we see the 3-point percentage or the 3-point attempt rate go down a little bit because he's going to have to create more of the offense even than he did this year. So I think he drives a little bit more than what we typically see.
Okay.
And the true shooting percentage is below league average.
Okay.
Is my take.
I'm with it.
Okay. Next up. PJ Washington has signed a contract extension. It is a 4-year, $90 million contract extension. He is now in Dallas through 2029-30. This deal also takes him off of the market for trade this summer. It is bigger
this season.
For this season, for the next 6 months, and it goes past the deadline at this point.
Yep.
So this deal is bigger than the percentage increase that he could have gotten in order to stay trade eligible. Are you surprised that the Mavericks did this?
Yeah. I don't love the lack of flexibility now in terms of making a move. I guess the flexibility they do still have is if they convince AD to play the 5 more, Daniel Gafford's jump is not enough to make him not trade eligible. But I just felt like he was the most obvious. PJ was the most obvious. Hey, this could be a real trade piece to go get us a perimeter player. I think Gafford can be that as well if they aren't finding minutes for all of these front court guys. Maybe they truly think they can play all of them together. I don't know, in some capacity, but I am a little bit surprised by that he's now locked in and they have Cooper, PJ, AD, Lively, that I don't think any of those guys are going anywhere. And again, Gafford still very much on the roster right now.
This is, so I was watching All the President's Men. You ever watched All the President's Men, Bryce?
I have not.
So All the President's Men is the movie about Watergate with Dustin Hoffman and Robert Redford and they're Carl Bernstein and Bob Woodward, and they're trying to uncover Watergate at the Washington Post, right? And at one point, Dustin Hoffman, kind of does like a little bit of scummy move and starts rewriting Bob Woodward's work. And, Robert Redford comes over to Dustin Hoffman and goes, I don't mind that you did it. I mind how you did it.
Yep.
And that's kind of how I feel. Like, I don't mind this. Like, I don't mind the idea of this contract. Like, this is probably what PJ Washington's worth at the end of the day. Like, it's fine to me. Like, this is totally normal. Like, $22.5 million per year for a starter. That's pretty good. And yet,
is he a starter?
I think so.
Okay.
I think he's a starter. Yeah.
For the life of this contract?
Maybe not for the life of this contract. I think that's a fair question.
Okay.
This contract does take him to what? It'd be like 32, 31, something like that. 31 probably.
Yeah.
I don't know that he's a starter for the life of the contract, but I think he's a starter for the next 3 years probably. And I think you'd be able to move it pretty easily. Like if he hits the market next summer for, 4 years, 90 million, like he gets that on the market.
To be clear, somewhere. I think it's a fine contract also. I don't think it's not a positive, like I don't think it's an overwhelmingly positive contract. I think it's fine. But to your point of the timing.
And to the point on his side, PJ's side, I actually think it might be easier for him to get that money now and then get to a different spot.
Sure.
By doing a trade, like confirming that you get both aspects of it, right? So that piece of it is interesting. But this takes them off the trade market, and they still just have a massive glut of human beings in the front court. Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, and Derek Lively are all there. And Derek Lively is a great basketball player. Maybe you look to move him. I don't know. I wouldn't be enthused about it. I think they might just like run this team this year and see what it looks like. Yeah. But my problem with that is that that's going to involve a lot of Cooper Flagg at the 3, and it might involve a lot of Cooper Flagg at the 2.
Yeah.
And I'm not wildly enthusiastic about that, I would say.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. And I think a big part of it is like, when does Kyrie get back? How much can like D'Lo and Brandon Williams, Dante Exum hold down the fort until he does get back? But I mean, I think it's easy to say, oh well, when Kyrie gets back, it's gonna be okay.
Do they care about this year? Is my question.
So that's part of it. And the other thing is, Kyrie doesn't solve the logjam of all of those guys trying to play together. Right. Like your 5 best players to get them on the court, even with Kyrie. I mean, I guess I'm anointing Cooper Flagg here a little bit, but. It's still like trying to get Cooper Flagg, all of the names you just mentioned on the court together when none of those guys are 2s. And I don't even know if any of them are like Cooper's a little bit of a 3. PJ can play the 3, but when I envision them just like their ideal spot, it's at the 4. And, so like it's just, I'm fascinated to see how Kidd and them figure this out, because I suppose it could go really well, but I also see a path where it's like, it doesn't, and it's really wonky and clunky, and maybe they're really good defensively, but they have no spacing offensively or no creation offensively. For sure is going to be a question mark until Kyrie gets back.
I'm not sure how they get paint touches. Is kind of my thing right now. And when Kyrie gets back, that'll change. But I guess right now when I look at their roster, I see 2 guys that their best position is the 5, and they think they're 5s, and Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, right?
Yep.
Best position is a 5, but thinks he's a 4 in Anthony Davis.
Correct.
Best position is 4, can play a little bit of the 3 and the 4 in PJ Washington. I think Cooper's best position is going to be the 4, but can probably play both the 3 and the 4 with Cooper Flagg. Then you have Najee Marshall, who doesn't really shoot it well. You do have Max Christie, who can at least provide some defensive energy and shooting. He's kind of the 3 and D guy. The other name that you still have here for 2 more years is Klay Thompson.
Clay. Yep.
And Klay is going to give you the spacing and the shooting that you need, but he can't really defend anymore. Honestly, Klay's probably best defending 4s at this point, frankly. And look, team team defense is so much more than this, right? Like if I was the Mavs, I'd be looking at getting really funky with like zone shit this year.
Yes.
And like getting real weird with how you like play in different alignments on defense, right? Like that would 100% be my strategy. But at the same token, I just am not sure this offense is going to be all that functional, really. And I guess that you can maybe, I think that what Dallas is betting on here basically is that they will get more on the trade market with Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington being under long-term, reasonable contracts than they would have if they had moved them this summer.
Sure.
Because ultimately they're playing the long game in terms of building this. Like they don't need to go get their guys right now, right? I have questions on that personally. I'm not like 1,000% sold that they will get more for Daniel Gafford on 3 years. What is it like 54 million or whatever, 55 million than they would have on like a year and 14 million. Maybe they will. Maybe Gafford is well thought of enough in that respect, but you run the risk of injury too. With PJ, like, I don't know, like, do you think it's easier to get more for him at 14 million where everybody can get involved in a deal basically right now? Or do you think it's easier to get him 4 years, 90 million? I don't know. I actually don't know the answer to that. And obviously the question was, could you have moved PJ in May so that like another team could have acquired him and then signed him to an extension in season, which wouldn't have been a possibility now, obviously, or even a month ago. So that's where those are the questions for Dallas right now more than anything. They're betting on these guys having more trade value next summer now that they have locked them in. And by the way, with the cap going up and up and up, I don't know that that's a terrible strategy, because then these guys are going to continue to make less and less of a percentage of the cap. Like PJ Washington making 12% of the cap in 2028, Daniel Gafford making 10% of the cap in 2028. That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing is you brought it up, and then is like, maybe they don't want to pay Derek Lively, like I would want to keep Derek Lively on my team, but he's coming up on those conversations. And so, the next offseason, maybe he's the guy where, you feel like you have Gafford, a 5, who knows he's a 5. I don't think AD's changing his mind, which makes it weird here. Like, because all of a sudden, if you traded Lively, you're going to need AD to play more minutes at the 5, but maybe he's the guy. I'm interested to see if and when they make the move. Like, and that's the thing, is like how they are approaching this season, I think is a huge part of that, because if they don't feel like they need to go get that backcourt help in the season, either because they're punting a little bit on the season, or they know Kyrie's going to be back and they can weather the storm till then, it makes more sense to hold off. And maybe that allows you to bring Cooper Flag on a little bit slower. I would have liked the flexibility of being able to move these guys. So
I think I would have preferred the flexibility, but I can at least see the case.
Sure.
I guess is where I'm at.
And
I can see the case for why they did it this way.
I don't think their trade value is bad next offseason. I mean, I think,
No, definitely not.
Or over the summer.
Barring an injury.
Barring an injury, yeah. I mean, PJ's number does go up almost $6 million, like at 3% of the cap more. But you're locked into the years, and assuming he has a good year, isn't hurt, whatever. Like you said, if you're trading him to a team, it's probably to be a starter for that team, and that team is probably going to be fine paying that percentage of the cap to their starting 4-man.
I think that if I was them, the opportunity cost here is just, can you get your picks back a little bit, right? Can you replenish some of the pick value that you've lost recently? And I think I would have rather gotten the flexibility that comes with the picks when I know what somebody like PJ Washington's trade value is now. Like, I do think they would have gotten a first round pick for PJ Washington. And I think I would have rather just had the increased flexibility of that in my asset cash or whatever.
Sure. That makes sense.
Last thing here before we get out of here, we're gonna hold some injury stuff with Dylan Harper and Thomas Sorber and everything until the Thursday show, because there was still a lot to talk about the Kawhi thing, and who knows, there might be more of that stuff to break here moving forward. We do want to talk just quickly about the other move that the Mavs made, which was to waive Max Prosper.
Yep.
And to then see Max Prosper sign in Memphis on a two-way.
Of course he did.
Of course he did. Yeah. A very Memphis move to do this, right? Memphis always has some of the best two ways in the league. We'll talk about that in a second. But look, like it's not like Max has shown like a crazy amount so far, right? It's not like we can sit here and go, oh my God, like this is a mistake from the Mavs. Like, what are they doing? Obviously, they did not get the most out of this draft pick, and they should be disappointed in that for sure. They will now have $1 million dead on their cap for the next 3 years, which sucks. That in addition to the $2.2 million that my Australian brethren, JaVale McGee, will be on their books for the next 3 years. Max is still an interesting like defensive prospect to me. He's played 92 games, 10 minutes a game in those games. I think he's at least shown the ability to where he can like match up physically with dudes, which is interesting. I think he has some things he needs to improve upon on that end. Like I think his reactions defensively will still improve. He's a really smart dude. Like Max, like when I talk to him, like he's really thoughtful. I think he wants to get better at basketball. I think he will continue to improve, and he'll max whatever it is that his skill set is. It's just all about the shooting. And, Max is kind of the classic guy in college basketball that, had the 34% shooting year from three, been a good free throw shooter for a couple of years, made people buy into the fact that maybe he can shoot.
Yeah.
But, ultimately just hasn't developed in that respect in the NBA. He just has not made shots in the slightest in the NBA. He's been at 26% so far from three. And if he doesn't shoot, he's not an NBA player. Like he doesn't pass it well enough. He doesn't make plays as a, ball handler or anything. Like that's just not his game. He was always a 3-and-D bet. And without the shot, it's just really hard to make that work.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think the archetype of the player is really exciting and absolutely a player I think you should be taking a two-way opportunity on. Whenever I saw the reports coming out about potentially trading him, or then whenever he was waived and stretched, I was like, this is a player Detroit should absolutely be in on. Ended up in Memphis because Memphis just does a really good job with their two ways and then converting two ways to standard contracts. But this is an archetype you bet on, in my opinion, and that he figures out the jump shot. He plays with great energy. He'll rebound. If the jumper gets there, I think he can cut and do all of those things. So I think this is a great move. And of course, Dallas makes this move because they needed the roster spot for Dante Exum. Not just the roster spot. I think they needed the wave and stretch, part of it to get where they could bring Exum in. So that's why this happened with Max. But I'm an Max fan, so I'm excited for him in Memphis.
Yeah, and they like to take flyers on these big wings in Memphis because it's kind of the spot that they need on their roster. Maybe not anymore with Jalen Wells and some of the other guys that, obviously they just drafted Cedric Howard this year. But the other thing I'll note here, just on the 2023 draft, people will look at this as a missed opportunity for Dallas. Maybe 24 is where they drafted him. For what it's worth, I had Max at 24 that year. So I was right where they had him. Ben Shepherd went 26th. Outside of him, I mean, dude, it gets dire in that class, man. Like, I think that the next most interesting player for me, outside of Tamani Kamara, who was like not getting picked at 24th, I'm sorry, that was just not a reality of a situation for Dallas. I mean, the next best one might be like Mo Gay in terms of like guys that were picked between 24 and 52. Like, I mean, outside of Ben Shepherd, that is. So, like, Julian Strawther, if you want to take the Sensabaugh flyer, like Leonard Miller, Andre Jackson, like, I mean, Ryan Rupert, Vucevic, Gigi Jackson, like Jalen Wilson. Jalen Clark went 53, but again, coming off of an ACL tear, he was never going 24. like there's just not a lot there, guys. Like I just don't. You can say that they shouldn't have traded for the pick because they traded in to get Omax. I think that is a real case that you can make for Dallas. But like if they were set on trading in to get another guy, basically, I don't know. I can't. It's hard for me to sit here and look at this 2023 draft and be like, oh yeah, like they totally whiffed on this.
Yeah. No, it's kind of interesting that as we've done those redrafts, that's kind of around the range where it starts to trail off in general.
Yeah. Finally, on the Memphis side, the two ways. PJ Hall, my guy. We watched the game at Summer League. PJ rocking a Dale Earnhardt T-shirt at Summer League, watching his former teammates at the Denver Nuggets play Summer League, just having a blast in the stands, talking to folks. PJ Hall, like anytime I've talked to people about PJ Hall, they will literally tell you just like an all-time dude. And I think he has a chance to stick in the NBA. I'm a PJ Hall, like if he really shoots it, he will stick in the NBA. If I was an NBL team, I would be like desperately trying to get PJ Hall. And if I was a European team, I would desperately be trying to get PJ Hall. And then they have Javon Small and Omax Prosper on their two ways. Those are two other good, solid two-way bets. And they also have Jemai Mashak, my guy, who I would assume is just going to be with the Memphis Hustle next year, frankly. And maybe they convert him as a two-way at some point after they make some moves because, you know, this roster remains ripe to be able to make moves whenever they want.
Yep. No, I agree. They have done a great job. There's, you know, obviously moving Cam Spencer up and then bringing these guys in. Scottie Pippen Jr., our guy Jay Huff now getting his chance in Indiana. Just a really good job on the margins for the Grizzlies.
Okay. That's all we got. Bryce, first episode back. It was a little rocky for me, honestly. Like it took me a minute to get the rhythms back. It took me a minute to like kind of roll.
Well,
on Thursday,
it was such a different topic too than what we usually do. So
it was more just like, I mean, look, like I said, I'm like 80% right now. So like my brain's like still trying to figure out how to fire, but like it was fun. It was good. Yeah. I'm glad to be back. It was good to see your face. It was good to talk through basketball again. I think that's all we got here. We'll go through injuries on Thursday. We have something planned on the schedule. I'm like a little gun shy to announce it, if only just because like I don't know what's going to break here. Like we're still waiting for the Kuminga, Grimes, and Giddey decisions. We're still waiting for whatever else happens with some Kawhi investigation stuff. Like you never know if the league like fast tracks this thing and gets that done like fairly quickly. Who knows? We have plans here coming up for the show. We also have some bigger plans forthcoming for you guys for some other content we're going to do. Bryce, tell the people where they can find your work. Tell the people what's going on.
Yeah, at Motor City Hoops on Twitter, on Blue Sky. Got the Substack. We'll get more content rolling over there once we get into the season. The Pistons Pulse podcast. Otherwise, Game Theory podcast right here with the Sam Vecenie.
Go to The Athletic. Keep me employed over there. We will have stuff coming up there, I'm sure, on Kawhi at some point soon. We've been kind of covering it with Pablo, so we appreciate everyone that subscribes over there. We will be back later this week, though, for sure, on Thursday. So until next time, we'll talk soon.